Today's meeting is going to be a little different. We have our mayor here from BizTown, and so council's going to come downstairs here for just a minute, and we're going to welcome Mayor John Moore up, and I'll explain more about that here in just a second, and then we're going to come back up to the dais, and he's going to gavel us in, and then we'll go from there. So we're coming your way. So it'll take just a minute to kick this off the right way. Is it not on? How about that? Okay. Thank you, James Skank, All Things Microphone. Speak into the microphone. Turn it on. I need all the help I can get. To kick this off the right way here today, we have Miss Dana Watson, who is, it used to be called J.A. BizTown. The kids renamed it BizTown when they would do their meetings. And so we have J.A. BizTown here today. And so several months ago, I was asked, hey, will you come look and see what we're doing over here? It's inside of Amtech. It's phenomenal. They're taking fifth graders through there. You have local stakeholders, Sonic, Walmart, United, Street Toyota. I mean, there's a bunch of them. And so each person gets to go to a different business. The city of Amarillo gets to participate in this. And I said, hey, I want to come back and I want to shake the little mayor's hand every time they're here. How many do you have? I'm thinking like 4 or 5. They said, well, we have 38. And I said, well, let me not do this 38 times, but let me make as many as I can. And so one day we had a school that was there, and John Moore was the little mayor, and I said, man, it would be great if we could get him to come to council and maybe let him bang the gavel. And so we would like to do a recognition here today with John Moore. And before that, I think I would like Ms. Watson to come up here, maybe just tell us just a little bit more formally what you're doing over there and what you've accomplished.
I mean, just now, this last 30 seconds. So I speak to children all the time, but not adults. So at BizTown, we have invited all of our fifth grade students in AISD, and we are currently reaching out to our rural districts. They come to Amtech Career Academy. We partner with AISD, and they adult for the day. So in the classroom, they apply for jobs. We have 90 jobs at our city. And they're all, what's cool about our BizTown specifically, there's only 3 in the state of Texas, and we made the 3rd. What's cool about ours is our jobs are local. They're specific to our local economy. And so we tell our 5th graders when they come through, these jobs exist here. When you graduate, they're right here for you. There's no need to go outside of our city to hunt a great life. And so in that partnership, Mayor Stanley just kind of came alongside us and has come to several of them, and he hangs out with our students, and he's a super busy guy. And so to see him come into our city and with no agenda, just to come and visit with our students and talk to them about what a healthy economy looks like. They come to us, they have live debit cards. Their cards decline if they've spent too much money on slime at Toot and Totem. And so it's super cool. That is quite traumatic when the card declines. We've had a lot of tears, but we put more money in their account, unlike oftentimes our banks. But anyway, so basically BizTown exists to show them what a real city looks like, a healthy city. And so they vote at our city over who paves your streets. And they oftentimes don't know that. And so just some basic concepts we're trying to teach them. And Mayor Stanley has partnered with us. He comes, hangs out with our mayors. Some of our kids don't know him, and some of them are like, would you sign my checkbook? So it's just a really cool partnership. We're very proud of it. And John killed it. Our mayors have to give some pretty long speeches throughout the day to all of their peers. And our mayor runs our city at BizTown, just as Mayor Stanley runs ours. And he did a great job, so we wanted to honor him today.
That's great. Thank you, Dana. Appreciate that. Joy, would you mind coming up here? We have a certificate of acknowledgement that we would like to give. And so, John, if you'll go ahead and come on up. I would like to say Mayor John Moore does have a nicer suit on today than I'm wearing. So I may should have rethought. How old are you again? Are you
17.
17. So I don't have as many years as I thought before he's probably ready to take my spot. It's my pleasure here today to award you this certificate of recognition for future leader of Amarillo. And so these guys truly are the next generation. They're the next leaders of our community, and they're plugged in. Mrs. Watson and everything that's going on over there is everything that's good right now in Amarillo. And so we just wanted to take a minute to incorporate him. He's going to get to come up on the dais. He's going to bang the gavel for the first time, and then we'll move along with our meeting. But if you guys would you give a very warm welcome to Mayor John Moore? Hey, let's take one photo. Do you have anything you'd like to say? If you'd like, you can, but you don't have to.
Can't think of it.
Okay, Mayor Moore is good, so you take that.
Oh, yes, I actually
Get right
do
there.
have something. I actually made a drawing in my art class recently to actually give to Mayor Stanley, which I have right here.
I gladly accept this.
Yep.
How you like that? How many of y'all got a hand? I don't see yours, Les. That's fantastic. And do I have? Yes, I do. I love it. That's fantastic. Thank you. Let's go upstairs and let's get this meeting going. Actually, before we do that, could I have everyone that's here with Mayor Moore, y'all come up. We're going to take a quick photo. Thank you, sir. Get right here. We'll put you in the middle.
Okay.
Me with my... I'll put you on this side. Over here. Squeeze in there. Okay. There you go. Are we ready? Squeeze in.
Ready? Squeeze it a little bit more. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Hey, come on up. Okay. You sit right here in the center chair. Get right up next to that microphone.
All right.
What I need you to do, just need you to say, I hereby call this meeting to order. And then hit it, just not as hard as you can. Okay, not too hard.
Okay.
Okay.
So like that?
Yep. And just say, I hereby call this meeting to order.
All right. I hereby call this meeting to order.
There you go. By far the best so far. So I think we're good. We'll go ahead and let you go back down there, and then we'll move forward. Grab your certificate. Mayor John, thank you, sir. I appreciate you, man.
You are welcome.
All right. Thank you guys for letting us do that. Mayor John is efficient. He's a strong leader, and he's got a lot more comedy than he showed you here today. I think he kind of backhanded a compliment to me one time over there about maybe how I could have done a better job. But no. Fantastic job. Thank you, guys. Thank you to the family for being here. And so do we have Richie Brown here? Oh, he's in the back. Pastor, would you come up here? You're our invocation. Would everyone please rise? We're going to do the invocation, and then we're going to say the pledges.
First of all, I want to say thank you for allowing me to pray today, and also thank you guys for your leadership. On behalf of Amarillo Fellowship Church, we really appreciate it. So let's pray together. Our gracious and loving Heavenly Father, We give thanks and praise for all of your mighty works. You are loving and good and gracious. Thank you for creating us and sustaining us day by day. Thank you that you made us in your image to exist in community with other people, to love and serve others the way you have loved and served us. Thank you for our city. Thank you for the businesses, the churches, the families, and the individuals that make our city the great place that it is. Remind us each day to love others the way that you have loved us. Thank you for forgiving us of our failures and shortcomings and always seeing the potential in us. May we always see the potential in each citizen of our city and speak to that purpose that you created in them before the foundation of the world. Thank you that Jesus rose from the dead and now reigns as King over heaven and earth. Thank you for your Holy Spirit that leads and guides our lives and empowers us to overcome every work of the enemy. Grant that our city would be known as a righteous city, a place where men and women operate in honesty and integrity, a city where your peace and hope dwells, a city that happy homes that care for the needy and defend the innocent from evildoers. Lord, thank you for your civil servants, our mayor and council members who have chosen to serve this city through the leadership gifts you have given them. Thank you for their hard work and sacrifice. May you continually bless them. May you generously give to them wise and discerning hearts to skillfully govern the people in our city. I pray for this council meeting today. Give the council members wisdom and guidance as they deliberate on the items before them. Give them wisdom so that they may solve problems, distinguish between right and wrong, and bring order, stability, and prosperity to our community. It's in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit that I pray all these things. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor. Appreciate you. You guys join in the pledges, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our Texas flag, please. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Please be seated. Okay, we're not even close to being done. Councilman Simpson didn't get his steps in yesterday, so we're going to get a few more here coming back down around. Council, if you'll join me downstairs one more time. We have 4 proclamations to read and present to you guys here today, and then we'll get on with public comment.
And as they're making their way down, our first one is Child Abuse Prevention Month. So if you're here representing this proclamation, please come up and join council.
We got everybody? You all good? Okay. Well, for the City of Amarillo and City Council, whereas the citizens of Amarillo recognize the crucial need for efforts by both individuals and groups to promote awareness of the plight of abused children, to work toward prevention of violence against children, and to provide services and treatment to these small victims of their families. And whereas Amarillo Area Court appointed special advocates, CASA, the Bridge Children's Advocacy Center, and Department of Family and Protective Services, the DFPS, advocate for the children of abuse and neglect. And whereas our society has responsibility to protect our children and help them thrive in a safe environment, as every child is entitled to be loved, cared for, feel secure, and be free from all types of abuse and neglect. And whereas effective child abuse prevention and intervention programs succeed because of partnerships among a variety of entities, including but not limited to schools, religious organizations, law enforcement agencies, child protective services, the Bridge Children's Advocacy Center, and CASA, prosecution agencies, medical professionals, mental health professionals, victim advocates, and other community-based nonprofit organizations. Now, therefore, we, Mayor and City Council of the City of Amarillo, Texas, do hereby proclaim the month of April 2024 as Child Abuse Prevention Awareness Month in Amarillo, and urge all citizens and institutions to support the Bridge Children's Advocacy Center, Amarillo Area CASA, and DFPS, and other partner agencies in the efforts to increase awareness of the services for abused and neglected children in Amarillo. Appreciate you guys. Who's going to come up?
Thank you.
Guys. Thank you for all y'all do.
Yes. So actually, I have Judge Baker, who oversees one of our child protection courts. She is going to say a few words, I hope.
Good afternoon. Thank you all for being here, and thank you for supporting all of these fine organizations. I get to work with all these wonderful people. Some of us have worked together for a very long time. I'm looking at a few faces. And they do fabulous work, and our children in care need every one of them. So support all of these organizations, and just if you see some of these folks volunteering and out doing what they do, thank them for their service, particularly, all the volunteers that work with these organizations. A lot of these folks don't draw paychecks. They give of their time, and every minute they're spending working with our foster children or doing something for our foster children is time away from their families, time away from their job, time away from their time off work. And so, they really fill a huge gap in the system. So thank you all for your support. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
This lady, I was testing you.
Okay, who's next? You want to go next? I got you. You're up there, Shirley.
Okay. We'll let them clear out here a minute. And David, if you and your board would like to come up. We're bringing Andrea's project up, awarding them a proclamation today. City of Amarillo, Texas, City Council proclamation. Whereas the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Service Administration says that alcohol is the most frequently used and misused substance in the United States, especially among people who are of college age and younger. And whereas according to the 2022 National Survey on Drug Use and Health, 137.4 million people in the United States aged 12 or older currently use alcohol. And whereas alcohol is the largest contributor to the leading cause of death among young people in America, alcohol misuse strains health care, criminal justice, substance abuse treatment systems, and alcohol misuse impacts educational and workplace productivity. And whereas social pressure and cultural norms have contributed to excessive alcohol use, and that with commitment and support, these and other substances use and mental health issues can be prevented. And whereas the focus of Alcohol Awareness Month is to assist in the prevention of substance use and promote mental health through Alcohol Awareness Month, people from all walks of life are encouraged to become knowledgeable and what they can do to create a healthier tomorrow for themselves and others by helping to prevent these problems today. Now, therefore, we, Mayor and City Council members of the City of Amarillo, Texas, do hereby proclaim the month of April 2024 Alcohol Awareness Month.
just want to say thank you guys so much for your support. This year we were able to start a victim impact panel, a live one. Before, any DWI offender would have to go to a class and watch a video, and when they were watching this video, they were on their phones, they weren't paying attention at all. So we knew we had to do something different. So we brought real victims, their real stories, and we make every DWI offender come in. They listen to our victims, the Sherlins, the Enrique, the Elizaldes, all of these precious families. They have to hear that story about that victim's family and how they're having to live with their whole life now without their loved ones. And we make them share their arrest story and their blood alcohol content, and there's shame there, but it's the good kind of shame, the kind of shame that makes you want to change your behavior. So we feel like with y'all's support, we're doing better and better, so thank you so much. We appreciate y'all.
Oh, yeah? You got child's corn?
All right, is Catherine Phillips here? Anybody from Beta Sigma Pi? All right. Whereas Beta Sigma Pi is the world's largest Greek letter women's service, cultural, and social organization, and whereas the badge of the organization signifies life, learning, and friendship by its Greek symbols, Beta Sigma Pi. And in pursuit of these goals, these women raise money and donate time and effort to those in need everywhere. And whereas local Beta Sigma Pi chapters this year support Friends at Your Fingertips. Now, therefore, we, Mayor and City Council of the City of Amarillo, Texas, do hereby proclaim April 27, 2024 as Beta Sigma Pi Day.
We want to thank all the ones for their support. We work a lot with charities. We donate to charities. We try to volunteer our time with charities. We have 2 First Responders Day that we do. We take snacks and gifts to the police force, the sheriff's department, all of the fire stations, volunteer and otherwise, twice a year. And I am so proud of my group. We are international, so there's chapters all over the world. Of course, our chapters are getting smaller as we get older, but we're hoping that with a lot of help from the public, we will build them back up again. We want to God bless all of you, and thank you so much for all we can do.
I'm getting good at this, right?
Well, we have one more today, and here for kind of personal preference for the mayor and council. I know we especially are glad as a group of those involved in your local government to recognize someone in an office that really supports us. So I'm going to ask Stephanie if she would come forward. This week is Professional Municipal Clerks Week. Actually, it's coming up, but we wanted to go ahead and recognize this, a very important role in any city government, but especially here. So the proclamation reads, whereas the office of the professional municipal clerk, a time-honored and vital part of local government, exists throughout the world, and whereas the office of the professional municipal clerk is the oldest among public servants, and whereas the office of the professional municipal clerk provides the professional link between the citizens, the local governing bodies, and agencies of government at other levels, and whereas professional municipal clerks have pledged to be ever mindful of their neutrality and impartiality, rendering equal service to all, and whereas the professional municipal clerk serves as the information center on the functions of local government and community, and whereas professional municipal clerks continually strive to improve the administration of the affairs of the office of the professional municipal clerk through participation in education programs, seminars, workshops, and the annual meetings of their state, provincial, county, and international professional organizations. And whereas it is most appropriate that we recognize the accomplishments of the office of the professional municipal clerk, now therefore we, Mayor and City Council of the City of Amarillo, Texas, do hereby proclaim the week of May 5th through May 11th, 2024 as Professional Municipal Clerks Week in Amarillo, and further extend our appreciation to our City Secretary's office for the vital services they perform and their exemplary dedication to this community. And we really appreciate the work that they do, and specifically Stephanie Coggins is our City Secretary.
Well, we thank Council for proclaiming this week for us. We're very excited, and as the City Secretary's office, whether it's preserving the city's official record, helping to uphold the tenets of the Texas Open Meetings Act or public information rules for Texas, or helping to safeguard our election process as the election administrator, we are very thankful to serve our community and do what we do. So very happy to be here every day. Thank you.
Okay, thank you guys for letting us do that. I know we put all four on one day, but we appreciate your patience and honoring those groups and individuals. We're going to move forward. I'm going to ask City Secretary if anyone with staff has any announcements today. So we do not have any announcements. That'll move us forward to public comment. And the City Secretary, if you'd read us into that.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for participating in today's City Council meeting. Your input and your opinions are important to us, and we are glad you're here to share them. At each posted meeting, we invite our fellow community members to address City Council regarding posted agenda items or topics related to city policy. Every speaker will have 3 minutes to address the council. At the end of 2.5 minutes, you'll hear a warning beep letting you know you have 30 seconds to wrap up your thoughts. We do have a public hearing today. If you're here to speak on the public hearing, we would ask that you either do it during public comment or during the public hearing, but not both, in order to help us keep good records of this meeting. It's your decision at which point you would like to speak. When you come to the microphone today, please state your name, whether or not you live in Amarillo city limits, and then you may begin addressing council. First today is Julia Miller. Is Miss Miller here? And on deck after Julia will be Jeff McGonigal.
Good afternoon. I wasn't expecting to go first, but my name is Julia Miller, and I live 3 minutes north of the Amarillo city boundary. Amarillo has a lot going for it. This is easier seen after leaving and coming back. It seems like the way of the cowboy is to revel in isolation, and in many ways I relate to this. For me, I did not appreciate Amarillo's connection to the West until my path into the Southwest. This was to graduate from studying the relation of humans to these surroundings, which entails a world of natural sciences, toxins, and faults of industry and effects of not cleaning it up. Even more impactful, this was in a city that strongly values community and their connection to the desert landscape and reveling in the cultural past. From having an award-winning farmers market to a thriving industrial composting program, there are so many paths that Las Cruces, New Mexico, the gem of the Southwest, could teach Amarillo, Texas, the lighthouse of the Panhandle. I digress. Amarillo, wake up. Why do we have such a problem with alcohol addiction, mischief, child abuse, materialism, trafficking, and division? We are focused on the distractions. Why is our city more focused on expansion and physical profits than focusing on where the community needs to heal? While these things are not unique, these tendencies run demographically rampant in the city bounds. We are ungrounded, unconnected, and talked for instead of to. It is so easy to become lost and alone when there are no substrates for an easy interaction outside of sharing a spiked beverage. I was so depressed growing up in this town, constantly fantasizing about escaping this surreal landscape. I was highly competitive and also highly inflamed and unable to listen to what my body was telling me, subscribing to poison and wanting to fit in still. Amarillo does have a healthy community, gate kept from the rest. With all of the wealth floating around this town, I don't think that the toxic truck stop design is by chance. I mean, look at walking on the sidewalk. It feels totally alien, exposed, uninvested in, and dangerous to go on a simple walk. It takes a hyper-aware person to remain safe. This forces a person into subscriptions of a tin gym, barren land, sitting in limbo after erasing history and condoning modern normalcy over a connection to the past. I love this town. I want to be here. I could choose anywhere to go. This is where grassroots run deep. Yes, there's a lot to be worked on, but isn't acknowledging the problem the first step? Grounding people through cherishing, protecting, and what we have, grasslands, canyons, playa lakes, flint quarries, strange stories, quirky history, and all of the lost treasures of the past is what this city needs to embrace in order to engage people, grow our rich culture, and heal. Invest in what we have. Invest in getting people out and connected. Bring people to know the resources available. Seek to protect instead of neglect. Quality over quantity. I would like to see a list of top 20 public and private water users in the city. I would like to see the city actually incentivize collaborative and sustainable programs in all departments. I would like to see a true value of design within the city bounds. The great and golden Amarillo Plains are a privilege to protect as a grassland. So let's embrace, breathe, and embrace this rampant wind because, God willing, this is the steady connection that grounds and heals. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay, next. Mr. McGonigal. And on deck after Mr. McGonigal will be Nathan Smith.
Jeff Guneagle McGonigal. Amarillo, Texas is my home right now. I dedicate this to the true love of my life. It's crystal clear who she is. 4 weeks back, I expressed the disrespect felt from the invocation. Again, 2 weeks back, and today I feel disrespected. I'm beginning to see it crystal clear for what it is. It's one way that the majority keep power over others. It's crystal clear. The power over the rest has been in place since the very beginning of Amarillo, and the time has come for this power to be distributed equally for the greater good of all. It's crystal clear. It's everywhere and crystal clear. The invocation reinforces it. The majority wins, although what about the all? Why does the majority win? We are all one Amarillo. Amarillo. It's crystal clear. As Guneagle, I call out all ministers, pastors, preachers, clergy, whomever, to examine their action in performing these invocations. Ask yourselves, do they disempower the others? Is it a power over move? Is it the thing to do for the all? It's crystal clear. Guneagle calls out the all. Start examining if there's a power over structure here in Amarillo that keeps the minority from reaching their potential, living their true life. It's crystal clear. Calling out to look deeply. Women, educators, overall minorities, those with mental and physical health conditions, the disabled, addicts, LGBTQIA, Generation Z, the sensitives, the ex-cons, criminals, those breaking the law. It's time to look within. Wake up. See who you are. You are not who you think you are. Clean up. Participate in the world. Grow up and vote. Take part in politics. Your city. And show up. Transcend the city. It's crystal clear. Calling out those in power is Gun Eagle, who runs the power over structure. Who runs the power over structure? Take the courage to look within, those running it, and ask, am I part of this structure? Do I control others for my gain? Am I truly living out the teachings of Christ, or am I living as a Roman using religion for power? It's crystal clear. It is time we all turn to true power. As Julie just said, collaborate as a city, collaboration and consideration of all. We have a destiny, folks, to become a Texas city of excellence. To arrive at this destiny will take great courage, courage that is not there right now, the courage of a once proud yellow city. It will take the undertaking of what I call Project Yellow, Project Courage. It's crystal clear. It's crystal clear.
Thank you, Jeff.
Much love, crystal. Am I clear? Jeffrey McGonigal, YouTube channel, Jeffrey McGonigal.
Appreciate you, Jeff. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. Nathan Smith, and after Mr. Smith, Michael Patrick Damon.
Good afternoon, Nathan Smith. I am a citizen of this fair city. Fantastic. As always, opening with a verse. This one from 1 Corinthians, chapter 14, verses 34 and 35. Let your women keep silence in the churches, for it is not permitted unto them to speak, but they are commanded to be under obedience, as also saith the law. And if they will learn anything, let them ask their husbands at home, for it is a shame for women to speak in the church. Now I'm here once again to call for the public to be allowed to vote on Mark Lee Dixon's Sanctuary Eggy City proposal. To my understanding that the petition itself is nearing its climax as far as due date is concerned. I don't know if they have the signatures. If they don't, they'll just rebrand and try again. I say this because a fellow citizen brought to my attention that back in 22, on the 24th of May, there was a city council meeting where this was going on. And I'm like, back in 22? And I owe the former mayor a debt of gratitude. Never thought I'd say that, considering I'm pretty sure she had the rules of decorum made because of people like me. So I've got to thank her. And I also got to respect the political play. She used legal reasoning and a conservative response as to why we shouldn't allow this city to be a sanctuary for the unborn, as they say. Clever woman. Never thought I'd be thanking her. That's how the world works. Anyway, I'd also like to thank Mr. Tom, I can't say your last name, Councilmember Tom, because he was in the documentary and he's made sure that he will not support this proposal. So we know he's good. Awesome. Thank you. Now, Councilmember Tibbs has shown that he's all too happy with the plan. He is in full support. So on the council, we've got 5 dudes, 2 dudes cancel each other out. It's left to 3 dudes to make this decision up. And with 3 dudes making this decision up, it makes sure that women remain silent. There's a reason I'm calling for a public vote. This petition to make Amarillo a sanctuary city, it's been going on since 22. Just get the woman off the council, women, Frida Powell, yeah. Get the women off the council, and then speak for all the little ladies, because they can't speak for themselves. They should go ask their husbands, right? That's the take I'm getting. But we're not a theocracy. And I want to make it clear, like the other guy was making that clear, we're not supposed to be a theocracy. And the great thing about being American is we're all entitled to vote, and we have progressed over the centuries towards having more rights for more people. But now we've decided that we're going to just silence half the population on an issue that affects their bodies primarily. I don't know, that seems a little tough to me, but I'm insane. And who knows, maybe if you give them the vote, they will vote that they themselves are incubators. I don't know. It's a gamble. But it'll get rid of these people. Y'all have a wonderful day.
Thank you, sir.
Our last speaker signed up, Michael Patrick Damon. Am I saying that right? Damron. There wasn't an R on it, okay.
Hello, Mr. Stanley.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good to see you people again, and thank you. I have received a call from one of you. I'm not going to mention any names. And it looks promising about the East Ridge sign. East Ridge, that's the primary concern here. What's in the best interest for them, the best interest of Amarillo, Texas. The sign company that has created the sign, which I'm going to refrain from mentioning their name right now. And I look forward to getting back to work. I have 4 years and 10 long months involved in this sign. And I just want to produce my sign. Kind of like Gerald Bull just wanted to produce his super cannon. But that sign's not going to kill thousands and thousands of people. So with all due respect to each and every one of you, please, time is a wasting, and I thank you all very much.
Thank you, sir.
Have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Anyone else, Ms. City Secretary?
That concludes everyone's.
Do I have anyone else here that would like to offer a comment or address? Yes, sir. Mr. Skank, please come forward.
James Skank, City Limits, sometimes. On the back to business, sort of, I like to stay a little closer to the consent agenda. On M, N, and O, we're doing the Southgate tiers. I think it would be interesting and allowable, I would hope, that y'all would consider pulling that off and discussing those things to let the citizens actually know how a tiers actually works and how we're participating with the Kids Inc. Because basically, from what I understand, this is just a infrastructure development that the city's putting in so that we can take care of some of that, if not all of that area. And then I have one concern that that tiers goes all the way to Sundown. Is Sundown in the city limits? Quite point of order, I don't know. It doesn't make, it's a big tiers slot that I see on there. And maybe somebody could speak to that, so people that watch and stuff. Okay, sidebar. Ran across an interesting news in my news feed. There's a town, I'm not sure where Holton City Township is, but they passed a resolution that did primarily two things. The first, it declared the city of Holton to be a Second Amendment sanctuary community, where unconstitutional laws controlling firearms would not be recognized. I like that. And then I'm not so sure that we would be as in favor of this, but the township created an enforcement mechanism for this resolution in the form of voluntary community militia whose purpose is to preserve constitutional rights to keep and bear arms. We live in a pretty interesting city. Most people that I know have guns, have that, and have a defense idea of not only their personal property but our city too. So I don't know if we need to form. I think there's already one sort of formed. I don't know of any, but I thought that was sort of an interesting use of what we're dealing with now with sanctuary ideas. So, and I did tell John before he left, I hope I didn't bring him down, how much the job pays.
It's very lucrative, sir. Do I have anyone else here who'd like to offer a comment? Yes, sir, Mr. Dawson.
Yeah, Noah Dawson, still living here. That's maybe a little bit follow up on Shane's point. I kind of would like to see M and O pulled off. Maybe I don't have any problem with those items, but they are fairly convoluted ones, and you're going to be in AEDC role. It looks like already with the action items, so it might be helpful to pull those off. I myself, it took me a few reads of those items to figure out what exactly is going on. But speaking of AEDC, the main reason I'm here to speak today, I don't usually like to speak unless there's something to a conversation that I can add. And since we have AEDC stuff all over the agenda today, there's, I think, a perspective to the whole debate that's been going on that has been kind of missed, and that is, I actually think there's truth to both sides of the debate. There's truth to the fact that AEDC deals, if you look at the economic literature, basically any economist will tell you they're a bad deal. You'll have situations where the value that's gotten out of it actually isn't a net positive for cities. There's situations where maybe even if there is a net positive, the fact is that company would have come to the city anyways. They're just getting an extra free check. And then in situations where they maybe wouldn't have moved to a particular city anyways, that's not even touching on the fact that there are then second, third, fourth, nth order inefficiency deadweight losses that are caused because that company, well, there's a reason why they weren't going to come there in the first place, because they would have been more efficient being elsewhere. But there's also truth to the fact that it would be bad policy to just get up and say, no, we're not going to do this anymore. And it's because hopefully y'all are aware of economic theory, game theory. At the very least, Prisoner's Dilemma, the classic example of it. Because the fact is if Amarillo stopped doing it, well, that just means that all the companies are going to go to Lubbock, because Lubbock's not going to stop doing it. And so it would take literally every city in the state and then in the nation to stop doing it to get there. So it's kind of a lose-lose situation either way you go about it. So fiddling around with the policies and stuff and trying to figure out, okay, what's the best way we can go about this, I think is kind of the wrong perspective to look at it from. I mean, sure, that needs to be done to minimize abuses of the system if there are any. But, I've also been an outspoken critic of taxpayer-funded lobbying, but as long as it exists, my position is that what needs to happen is the city of Amarillo needs to use that to advocate at the state and federal level to get rid of these programs. That's the only way that we're going to get out of this mess. Amarillo stopping is just going to hurt our local economy, but continuing is also doing so.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else who'd like to offer public comment here today? Yes, sir. If you give us your name and address, please.
Yeah, my name is Zach Bice. I live in the city limits, Amarillo, Texas, 3819 South Aldridge. As far as this AEDC, I was trying to figure out what businesses are they helping. Besides these big corporations that come in, what businesses are they helping? I did my research. I looked, they did give X amount of money to 3 companies. One of those companies is owned by the president of Amarillo Matters. I don't feel like they should be picking winners and losers who gets that kind of money with our tax dollars. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else here today before we move on? Yes, sir. Mr. Pena, if you'll come forward.
Angelo Pena. I'm in the city limits. Do you need my address?
No, you're good.
All right. So I come here today on regarding to 8C, and I do support you guys are looking into this, amending the city charter and reforming it. I do hope that you guys do not neglect certain reforms that are coming up. When you guys won your election, a conversation started up like a cap on local election donations and contributions. I hope y'all can, I would entrust you guys to determine a cap for elections if that is going to be a growing conversations over the years. And I would hope that the reforms are not minimum. I would like to see, last time I voted, there was 3 propositions. I'd like to hope you guys do like 5. Because we've seen over the years people complaining about the city charter, and there's a lot of things you guys can do to make certain propositions become one. Like if you're going to extend terms, which I do agree with the mayor on, I would say put term limits along with it, because we are a growing city and sooner or later someone's going to be demanding for term limits. And I would want to explore why they got rid of the 2 council seats that we used to have 7. And if we do bring these back, could we make these a special seat? Maybe one represents Potter, one represents Randall, or at large is fine too. Stagger elections is on y'all's agenda. And I don't know, maybe explore full pay for the council for future councils, but that could be a thing for the citizens to decide ultimately. And hopefully, I guess, explore reforming certain things like recall measures, and probably add something to like the honeymoon period so it's not abused. Like if you're newly elected, 1 year, a petition of recall can't come against you, but if you get reelected, 6 months. But these are just reforms. I hope you guys don't make a minimum. This is the opportunity to do it, and most of y'all, I've been with y'all, and I hope y'all don't miss this opportunity.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your comment. Anyone else? Public comment here today before we move forward. Appreciate everyone for speaking up and exercising that right here today. We'll close public comment, move on to our discussion items, section 8. Do I have anything from council on item 8A, review or questions?
No, sir.
Okay, we'll move on to item 8B. We do have Miss Beth Duke here. Beth, if you don't mind coming forward, she's going to give us a quick Center City update.
It'll be quick. You can set the timer if you need to.
3 minutes.
I know. I know the drill. So thank you for having me this afternoon. I'm excited to tell you some things going on in Center City and to update you on what we're doing. We appreciate your support so much because you understand what we're trying to do and to re-energize our downtown. I want to tell you a couple of exciting things going on in Center City. Last month, we were privileged to host a regional design workshop with the architects from Texas Main Street. Because Center City is a Main Street city on the state and the national level, our contract gives us the ability to request design assistance from these Texas Main Street architects. And they came to Amarillo to do a regional design workshop. And we had architects, planners, we had some city staff there, we had other area Main Street managers. And the idea was to help people understand why it's so important to save our historic buildings and also ways that they can help revive our downtown. They took a big tour of the entire Santa Fe Depot district, and then the Potter County Commission allowed us to have our workshop in the historic Santa Fe Building auditorium. So it was a great day and great, just one more way, Center City is really trying to put us on the map for Texas Main Street and National Main Street. Also, Center City, if you've been looking up at the banners, this month we launched our senior banner program. We started this in 2020 when graduates could not have their traditional graduation ceremonies. It's been so popular that we've continued it, and I want you to know it's open to any graduate, college or high school, private school, homeschool. We even have some area schools that participate in that. And then, of course, once those banners come down, They belong to the families, and they're theirs to keep. I think it'd make a great decoration for a dorm room. It would have been nice in mine. So, then starting next Monday, you're going to see a sign around. I think you may have already seen some on some of our billboards that have been, our digital boards that have been up around the city. And we are doing a promotion called Dine Downtown. I don't know if you realize, but we have almost 30 locally owned restaurants within 1 square mile in our downtown dining district. And we have one of the largest downtown dining districts in the state. And we want people to get back in the habit of coming downtown to eat before they go to Hodgetown, before they go to symphony or ballet or a concert, whatever they're coming downtown. And then we also know that after pandemic, our office buildings are filling up again. People are working more in the office and not so much working from home. And we want the lunch crowd to come back. So you're going to see this sign on the windows of several of our great locally owned restaurants. And they are participating by having special menus, and all kinds of things. So we have a full list. 1887 at Embassy Suites, Crush, Ebby's in Plaza 2, Lit, Nomad Napolitana, OHMS, Panhandlers, Roast and Toast, which is the coffee shop inside the First Bank Tower, Scratch-Made Bakery, Six Car Pub, which just reopened, Toscana at the Barfield, Yolo's, and Youngbloods. And we also were honored last month when the National Main Street came and did a podcast and a video about our own Scratch-Made Bakery right there on our part of historic Route 66. So we're really trying to promote these local entrepreneurs. Some of them are the hardest working people in rock and roll. And when I travel, I want to eat where the locals eat. And I think you do too. So if you can encourage that and just support some of these local restaurants. So the week will end with another fun tradition we have with Texas Main Street. Texas Main Street operates a website called Downtown TX. And if you go to Downtown TX and search for Amarillo, you'll see all the historic properties in our downtown. Some are for sale, some are for lease, some have been restored, like the Barfield. But in conjunction with this website, we do a downtown historic tour. And in the past, we've done it on Sunday afternoon and made it like an open house after church. But this year, we're doing it Saturday morning, May 4th, at 9:30. And we are going to start at the historic Paramount Theater. And we have special permission from the owner to go back into the back of the theater that used to be a theater and start our tour there and let people really see inside this historic building. The other buildings that will be open to us are the Levine's building across the street, the Crest building, which is currently for sale, and then we'll end up at the Woolworth building where a new business, the 45 Wine and Whiskey Bar and Grill, is going to go in. So I think it'll be a fun morning downtown. It's free. We just want to promote National Historic Preservation Month and show people that just like the Barfield, a lot of these buildings that we've watched empty for a long time can have a new life. So I want you to know, too, we're partnering with other city departments. The Amarillo Public Library did a beautiful job in March called March is for Murals. And they produced a beautiful brochure about our downtown murals. We asked them for permission to reprint that, and we're going to be putting that at hotels and the travel information centers and the visitor information centers to spread the word and give the library credit for a great job. Also, this Friday, I hope it's on your calendar, the Parks and Recreation Department is going to have Arbor Day tree planting with the children from St. Mary's Cathedral School there at Elwood Park. And Elwood Park is one of our oldest, most historic parks. If you look real close, you'll see the historic monument where Roosevelt gave his presidential address when he came to the city. So the Polk Street streetscape is continuing. I think they're about to 7th Avenue right now, and this is going to make your Polk Street totally ADA compliant. and walkable from 10th to 2nd. And the pedestrian lights are going up, and particularly in the area around 2nd Avenue and 3rd Avenue, it's really making a difference in the walkability and the safety in the evenings. So Center City, you know, we're a nonprofit. We had our annual mural run March 23rd, about 300 participants. It's kid-friendly, pet-friendly, and I'll tell you, for those of you who remember the old Center City block parties, it's a lot more fun to clean up downtown at 2 p.m. than 2 a.m. So I'll just let you think about that for a minute. I know Les gets it. The other thing that I want to tell you is that our board of directors has voted to take a pause on Amarillo Community Market this summer. I've talked to many of the vendors. Last year we had a lot of challenges. Maybe it's a sign from God that I opened it the weekend of the flood, but the heat, the drought really hurt our producers, and we lost quite a few vendors. So we are still going to have our Patriotic Pet Parade on June 29th, but we're going to take a pause on Community Market and probably hope to revisit that in the future. High Noon on the Square starts the first Wednesday in June. This will be our 30th season, and we're very proud to kick that off every Wednesday in June and July, except for Juneteenth, because the county will be closed. And then the exciting news for me is that every quarter Center City reports our reinvestment figures to Texas Main Street. And for the first quarter of 2024, our total reinvestment, this is public, private, and public-private partnerships, was $5,402,315. And that's all because of your support and the support of our stakeholders who know we're just keep trying to make downtown better. So thank you for a quick update. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Beth. We appreciate you. Some of the best restaurants in the city, you're making everybody in the room hungry.
Well, you know, we travel, we eat, and we shop. So I'm hoping some of that stays here in downtown. Thank you.
Appreciate what you do. Moving on to item 8C, I think we're going to have Ms. Stephanie Coggins come up here and walk us into the charter amendment election process. She can lay out for us kind of what our time frame looks like, I believe.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor, Council. So we talked about this at the last meeting. Let me get for it here.
You know I got to get it all the way up there.
So we received consensus from council at our last meeting that we do want to move forward with this process. So today we've brought back a potential plan to look at. So we'd like to discuss that draft plan with you. We've also asked for you to provide names for possible citizens to serve on a citizen review committee. So we'll go through that a little bit, and then appoint a 2-member council subcommittee for this process. There's a document up on your dais that looks like this, and it's one that we had sent to you that's a draft plan. In essence, and I'm going to go to this next slide that's a little easier for the audience to see, we'll talk about this in 3 phases. The first phase will be for council to appoint members to the committee and to establish your priority topics that you'd like this committee to dive into related to the charter. Phase 2, the committee will review those topics and they will present recommendations to City Council based on their review process. And then Phase 3, you'll review their recommendations and you as a council will decide what you might want to put forward to a charter amendment election and then call that election. And so, Mayor, I would ask for your guidance here. Do you all want to go through some of these dates and kind of see if this works for you? Do you want me to read through some of them?
No, I think the way you've outlined it's really good unless council sees an issue. Basically what we're getting to is a first reading July 23rd, a second reading in August, which gets us in front of the deadline for the November election. And so we would be pushing hard here in May to make sure that our committee and subcommittee members would be able to work through everything on their side, bring it back to council in June with the ability to review, discuss this. I don't see on here potential consultant. Would we have a consultant, you think, to walk us through that?
We can, and that's one of the questions that we had for you today. Do you want a consultant to lead that committee? And if so, and I think I might invite Floyd up too to talk to that a little bit. I think we may have a consultant.
I would just say if we don't have a consultant, you're going to rely on the two council members to probably somewhat navigate that until you have the chair selected, and then you'd be relying totally on the chair. So it would probably depend a lot on who we would have on that committee.
So I agree, Mayor. However, for time situation, we might just go ahead and procure a consultant such that they're available if needed. And I think rather than lead, maybe guide.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe instead of leading it, we just have them as a guide and a consultant in how the process works and the outcome. Okay?
I know I would be in favor of having a consultant work through that process. Don't necessarily have to have them here. I think with Zoom, that would be something that would be easier as far as schedules. Yeah, you're looking at probably 4 meetings over a month period of time, month and a half.
Meetings over June. So in essence, when we come back on potentially May 14th, or we may need a special work session for this. I know May 14th is going to be a pretty packed day for council. So we need a meeting there where we would discuss, get those members appointed, and then we would have their first meeting kick off May 30th. And then for 4 or 5 weeks straight, they're going to meet every Thursday, if that's the day we land on, and they would meet for about an hour and a half and then have a little homework in between where staff has done research and provided them. And Brian, remind me from last time if I speak wrong, but staff will go research these topics and bring back, here's what other cities do. Once we get some feedback from that committee at a weekly meeting, for example, then city attorney's office would go and draft, here's what that change would look like on the charter, here's how the language would look current and amended, and so they'll go through all that. So it'll be a very fast and furious 4 to 5 weeks for that committee looking at the month of June. It would come back as a recommendation to council on July 9th, which is the meeting before July 23rd where y'all would want to make your recommendations. So it'd give you a couple of weeks to think about it and come back. And if we need to push all of that forward a week, we could potentially start with that committee on May 23rd and give a little extra time there.
Okay. Let me ask council if council wants to give an opinion, anyone on a consultant to help navigate this, or if you think we're good to move forward without one.
I think it'd be better. I believe it'd be better to have
someone.
Okay.
Anyone else want to comment on that?
I agree.
Agreed.
Okay. So we would give direction to staff. Go ahead and find a consultant that'd be good to walk us through that. I think you've outlined it very well. I think we have enough time. I don't think we have time to waste, but I think with the goal of what we're trying to do and 4, maybe 5 good charter amendments that we would look to put on this, this is a great starting point. Great. So from here, let me ask if council has any questions for Ms. City Secretary and the way in which she's mapped this out.
Appreciate all your work.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because I do think that 14th could be a challenge. One question, I don't know what the next topic is, but my question would be, obviously council will have some things that we'd like for them to look at. In general, are charter commissions free if just as a group they say, hey, this is something, are they bound by just looking at what we talk about, or could they look at anything in the charter if they begin to look at things?
They could look at anything if they wanted to, and typically the way you would see that and the way we did it in 2020 is that council subcommittee let them know, hey, if there are things here that you think we should talk about, bring them up, and then let's look at those. Okay. So they can look at anything within the front and back cover of that charter.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions, council?
No, sir.
So I think staff will bring some items that you guys are familiar with, and so we want to hear from staff what you guys have seen and still have concerns with or would see benefits of. And then I think moving forward, the only other thing would be the Thursday is a great option, but then I think we give the names, we select the committee, check availability. Would hate to miss out on one or two just because of a scheduling conflict, so of course we could move that.
And this is what we proposed. We can also, if you've got committee members able to meet before 5, we can do it during the workday. We can figure that out with the committee members as we get that ironed out.
So I know you asked for everyone to send you a list of names, and one council member, we won't name who he was, did give you 3 names, and the other ones did not. So
I wasn't doing my steps yesterday, Mayor.
You had extra time.
We're supposed to do. So, yeah.
So that name is in front of you, council, and the ones that Councilmember Simpson recommended are Gary Pittner, Brian Heinrich, and Frida Powell.
So let's start with Councilman Simpson and just kind of let him take it from here on, where he's at on these 3, if he wants to contribute any more, and then let's just go 4 to 1, and we'll lay out the other names that we've brought.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So I did submit 3 names for consideration. Gary Pittner could probably be a consultant on this. He was a longtime head of the Panhandle Regional Planning Commission. So his job for decades was supporting local government, mainly government smaller than Amarillo. But under Gary's leadership of that organization, he's tutored those who are now city managers in Midland, Grand Prairie, other places. Probably has forgotten more about local government than most people know. So I think he would bring an expertise to this area from his time, really being involved in local government at all levels across the state. He's seen a lot of things. So Gary Pittner was someone that I wanted to nominate and has agreed to serve if asked. Brian Heinrich is a local attorney who has served the community in various ways, both civic and charitable organizations. Not recently, but before, he's been a member of the Amarillo Economic Development Corporation. He's been president of the Amarillo Bar Association and also president of the Panhandle Trial Lawyers Association. And I think he also was chairman of the board of the St. Mary's School Board, so has civic and community involvement with Brian. And then also I nominated Frida Powell, who I think we all know, who has had many years of service, even before her service on city council. And obviously is familiar with local government and the city council, and so I felt like her knowledge and expertise would make her someone that could be qualified to be considered. And all 3 of these have been asked and would be willing to serve if council decides to go in that direction with any of these 3.
Appreciate the background on that. I think council's familiar with all 3, and just wanted to give you an opportunity to make sure we knew who you were listing. Councilman Sherlin, if you have some names to add.
I have a couple of names I hadn't talked to.
Okay.
I'd like to nominate Kim Benson. I think she'd really do good as far as research work and going through the document that would need to be done. I also would like to nominate Toby Hudson.
Okay.
Those are the 2 names I
I
have.
believe we all know both of those individuals.
Yes. Do I need to say more?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Councilman Tips, you've got a few names?
I do. I've got 4 that I've spoken to, just we're basing it on availability as well. And had a question, maybe, Stephanie, on residency. If they live outside the city, but they have business inside the city, does that qualify or disqualify?
I'm going to look to Brian to tell me if I'm wrong, but that's a council decision.
But that's a decision you'll have to make.
Okay.
And that's one of the things actually on this slide,
Saw
because
that.
I had a similar question from another council member on selecting members.
Okay. Well, I've got Dean Crump, Rodney Hill, Matt Griffith, and Tim Ketting. All 4 are business owners, also with vested interests in the city. I think I've spoken to all 4 of them. They're all willing. The schedule would be the factor of whether they can or they can't.
Okay.
So we can revisit that.
Did everyone have time to get those names down? Anybody have any questions on those 4? Okay. Councilman, thank you. Yes, sir. You're up.
I've got 3 names, so all 3 of these have experience within government, different backgrounds, different age groups. My first recommendation, Sandra McCart. Second recommendation is Audrey Castillo. And then my third and final recommendation is Daniel Martinez.
Okay. Give me your second again. Audrey?
Audrey Castillo.
Castillo. Questions for place 1, council? All good. I brought 3 names as well. Michael Hanning, local businessman, sat on this charter review, the previous council. Sharp individual, chaired the LGC for at least 4 years, maybe 5. Michael Ford chaired at the appointment of the governor of the state of Texas, multiple committees down in Austin. So very, very knowledgeable of all things government. And then Donna Ward. Donna would need to look at the schedule, but did express the willingness to contribute. Definitely been around city business for a long time and a previous city secretary. So those would be my 3. That leaves us with 15. So let's talk about the size of this. What do you have a recommendation?
I don't. Last time we did it with 8 or 9. I probably wouldn't go more than 10 or 15, just because it's a quick timeline. You're gonna have a lot to get through, but.
I don't want to vote on who we don't allow on, right? What I would ask is we could make this smaller, knowing we're going to appoint 2 if we wanted to, 2 council. So this would be 17 individuals. Schedules get more complicated the more people you have. Discussion over an hour and a half, 2 hours can be a little bit lost. It can be a harder one to manage when you get up closer to 20 people. Just the location of being able to find a place where we can meet and get everybody in and out and all of that. So we really want to give the committee the best opportunity to have success here so that it comes back very clean and precise and concise to council. What we could do is we could ask each council member to select 2. And then some only brought 2, so your world's a little easier than the rest. Don, you had 4, right?
I was making up for the ones that didn't do their job.
I appreciate that for just looking out in case I didn't have anyone. If we did 2, I would ask staff's recommendation. That's going to give us 12 people on the committee, including our 2.
Big the subcommittee.
You think that's small enough?
I think it is.
Okay. I would prefer 12. And then we just leave it with each person to narrow it down to your 2. And then that way everybody has contributed from council. And I think we've got a really strong, I'd be comfortable with any of these names serving. And then assuming that somebody does not have the availability, do we want to produce an alternate or just allow the size to get smaller?
I mean, I would say utilize the alternate.
Okay. So we would just have whoever we recommend. Let's say that I put forward Hanning and Ward, and Mrs. Ward wasn't able to do it because of schedule. Then I would propose my other alternate.
Okay.
If you're good with that.
Yeah, I think that's.
Council, y'all want to weigh in on that, or are you good with that direction?
I think that's good. I think that's a good plan.
Okay.
So each person is going to select 2 of that. Got it. Okay.
And those 2. Do you need direction on this now, or would you like for each council to be able to reach out to you tonight or tomorrow and tell you, hey, these are the 2 that I've selected?
You can reach out to me after the meeting. Perfect. Let me know. And let me know if you have not. I know some of these are willing. If you have not talked to them yet and you need us to reach out to see if they're willing to serve, please let me know, and we'll be happy to make contact.
Okay. More importantly, maybe, is how we get 2 individuals here to commit to that additional workload that really want to get into this charter. And so, do I have 2 council members that would like to volunteer?
I'll do it.
I'd be glad to do it if no one else
Okay. Councilman Simpson said he would if nobody else, volunteers. So do we have anybody else that's wanting to do this? Or are we okay with the two on the other right side?
Second last.
Yeah, we're out of town a couple of these. So,
Okay.
Yep.
So we're good. I'm very comfortable with these 15 names plus Councilman Simpson, Councilman Sherlin as our subcommittee on this. And I say we all systems go.
Perfect. Well, if you get me your list of your 2+ alternate, then we will get that together and we'll keep council members Sherlin and Simpson copied into those emails as we get with the committee and provide dates and see what availability we have to get this going.
Great.
So, quick question for council, last bit of feedback. May 14th may not be the day to have the next conversation for you to bring your priorities. Do you want to do that in a special work session? Do we want to try to do that on May 23rd and have a conversation, May 28th at that council meeting? By then, that's 1 to 2 days before we're meeting with the
Do we have any
committee.
conflicts from council between the 20th to the 24th, somewhere in there? That would be your week in between two council meetings. So not trying to do something next week, but giving ourselves the 14th, if we can work it in a regular agenda, we would bring forward our particular charter recommendations. But then we would give ourselves a work session schedule, knowing that somewhere between the 14th and the 28th, we would schedule a work session versus trying to do it
versus
between the
trying
2nd
to do
and the
it
7th
on the
or whatever.
14th. Because we had proposed maybe a possible morning work session on the 14th. I think that's conflicted now. And so we would need to do something either in the regular meeting, if you want to, or outside of that.
Council, what do you guys have those weeks, or what do you guys think about that?
Okay, do you want dates right now that are available, or?
No, I just need to know if you're unavailable.
Tell me again, what dates?
So if we want to leave the 14th as a possibility,
May
we
14th.
shoot for that. If that day gets full, then we're looking at somewhere between the 14th and the 28th that we'd need to schedule a work session, unless we'd like to go ahead and schedule a work session prior to the 14th.
Okay.
Well, I'm out the 19th through the 22nd.
Okay.
Of that time period that you just gave.
Anybody else got a conflict?
I could do the week of the 6th sometime if we wanted to move it up.
Okay. And
I could do that as well.
anybody got any issues the 6th through the 10th, I guess? Let me look at this.
No, just as long as they give a couple of date options.
Okay. Stephanie, what I would like to do is direct you guys to get with council here today, tomorrow. Let's look at the 7th, 8th, 9th, those three days to schedule a work session.
We'll follow
You're
up
gone
with
the
an
9th.
email.
7th or the 8th. If we don't get a 7th or the 8th time frame scheduled for a couple-hour work session on this, then let's get it worked in on the 14th, I would try for.
Okay.
Okay?
Any other questions I can answer on this?
And then it'll be at that meeting that then council will discuss any particular topics that are of interest to us to be considered?
Yes. Yeah, that's when you'd want to bring those topics.
Okay.
So.
Yep, bring your charter recommendations and amendments with you. Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Let's keep us moving here. We're on to item 8D. We have a quarterly update from Mr. Carter here on all things AEDC.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon, Kevin.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for letting me be here today. Lots of exciting stuff later on in council for us. 3 new projects for us to talk about later on, but kind of wanted to give you all an update of what's gone on so far the first quarter of this year. We started off early in the year with our annual State of the Economy event. I know most of y'all were there that morning. We introduced officially our new reroute which is our recruiting tool to attract some of our talent that wanted to go to the bigger areas. We wanted those folks to come back and raise their family here because they know how great a place Amarillo was to raise their family. So we've launched that campaign, and we've already got almost 20 names on that list. So very excited about that, and we're going to start sending those boxes out. That's part of that reroute campaign. Aaron Demerson was the speaker that morning. Aaron is the Texas Economic Development Corporation president and CEO, which is the private side of the governor's office for economic development. He previously served as the workforce commissioner representing employers. Did a great job. We got a lot of great press off of that. Aaron did some posts around the state about talking about how great Amarillo was to some colleagues and companies. So very thankful that Aaron came and did that for us and was able to get some press out of that for Amarillo. We had a joint meeting of the AEDC board and city council. In that, a couple of things that came out of that joint meeting was to get started on a strategic plan for the AEDC. We, in talking with the mayor and our board and a couple of board members, that we have decided to hire the Next Move group to conduct that. And so as we get that process started, I know the mayor wants to do another joint meeting to have that strategic plan kick off, along with some community members to be on that in that joint meeting to help with that strategic plan. Also, during that meeting, we worked on the incentive guideline revision and approval process. I know our board approved the revisions that we made to the incentive guidelines, and I know council has made the revisions to the guidelines on the city side. Several BRE visits, those are business retention and expansion visits, were conducted this quarter. 18 of those this quarter. We also made a trip to Xcel Energy's corporate headquarters up in Minneapolis. Had a great visit with them. And then this last week, around 20 community leaders, I think it ended up being 17, participated in the Chamber's Washington, D.C. days. We had great conversations. I actually got to meet with Senator Corrigan for a few minutes. We met with Senator Cruz and Representative Jackson while we were there. We also had meetings with Department of Energy and the National Nuclear Science as it relates to the Pantex operations. And then Bell Helicopter hosted us for breakfast in their Washington office. So a great time there. Let me give you a little bit of updates. I know there were some questions over the last few months asking questions. I know Councilmember Tips asked about commitments that AEDC had and were we able to fulfill those. And I know this sheet is really hard to see, and I'm sorry on the screen. What this talks about, and I will get y'all copies. I hope y'all can see it on your screen better than I can see it. I'm going to have to look at the copy that I have. What this talks about, this is our cumulative project status report. This just talks about the commitments that we have if every project maxed out. That's it. Every job, when we present a project to y'all and we say up to 60 jobs, this commitment takes all 60 of those jobs in there. And so right now AEDC has a total commitment of $146,737,000. If you'll look at the next page, this talks about cash flow. I know Don, or Councilmember Tips, had asked about cash flow through the years. So we did a cash flow analysis for the next 5 years. This also is updated to include the debt service for the Northeast Interceptor program. You can see that down towards the bottom. So over the next 5 years, right now we have, if we pay our yearly commitments at the end of 23 and 24, we have about $63,900,000 in assets. At the end of 5 years, this does not take into consideration any new projects, but at the next 5 years, we'll have an increase of $12 million over the next 5 years in cash flow at the current rate. We have 2 debt services right now. One of those is going to roll off in 27. The other one rolls off in 31. And then that also takes into account if we take debt out for the Albers Aerospace hangar that council approved last year. certainly would try to answer questions from this sheet. I know it's new. I can certainly get you a better copy of that if you would like. But certainly would answer any questions from this. I know it's a lot to take in.
Carter?
Can you kind of review, you mentioned, because we had the joint meeting and we talked about kind of looking at, what we offer to potential industries to come in, and we kind of made some adjustments. Can you kind of give a high-level overview of those, what those adjustments were, and kind of, I guess, maybe, our reasoning behind why we're changing some?
Yeah, absolutely. So we try to look at these every 2 years. I think it's important to look at these every 2 years and adjust if necessary. Obviously, inflation was one of the key driving factors of why we wanted to change the AEDC portion. We thought the capital investment was too low, and so we actually doubled the capital investment in the metrics table, and that is, I don't have a copy in our version, or at least up on the screen. That is on page 16 of the comprehensive guidelines. The capital investment, actually, I think we quadrupled that in amount. It used to be you had to invest $500,000 now to get an incentive. The capital investment has to be over $2 million on new investment, and so it goes up to $8 million. You have to have at least 10 full-time jobs. We kept that number, but we also increased the minimum salary requirement. That number was $45,000. So all new projects that we bring as of when this was signed, if we were already talking to somebody, we left that in. But we have raised that number to $50,000 instead of $45,000. We thought that there needed to be an increase there. So a little over 10% increase in that number, and then the next level added $5,000. So now instead of 45, 55, 65, 75, we added $5,000 more to that table. So great question. Thank you.
Any other questions? So before you go on there, Mr. Carter, I know one of the other guidelines that we've seen as a council that we greatly appreciate, and I think it goes to the conversation of your economist and why this is a bad deal. At different times of you had somebody that was already coming here and they were coming anyway, and you gave them 10 years of 100% tax abatement or more. And one thing that you've done very well, I think, is you started introducing that tiered roll-off. So if somebody does bring a $1 billion asset that they're constructing, that rolls onto our property tax in year 2. So it goes, 190, 80, 70, 60. So what we're seeing is a realization of those property taxes coming on earlier with a combination and a compromise of the incentive still being able to keep us in good competition with other cities.
That's one of the changes that was made on the city's part of that. First 12 pages are the city's comprehensive guidelines. That was changed to make that more of a stair step, is what you're talking about,
right?
Mayor. So.
And I'm just saying, I guess I'm not separating what the city came up with what you came up with. Both of these pages have been pretty comprehensive and collaborative from you guys.
Absolutely,
working with us.
It has. Andrew Freeman was the first author, along with Doug Nelson at the AEDC, and so we've continued to collaborate on that. We hand that to all of our perspective as one document. I mean, the first 12 pages are what the city can offer, and the next, I think, 13 or 14 pages are what AEDC can offer. But that's a comprehensive guideline. So it's a great point.
I think the point I'm just wanting to, enunciate here a little bit and make more clear is we're making progress. And I know these four guys ask a lot of hard questions and say, tell me why, and I think it's important to show on the other side what you guys are doing to help. And so if you want to jump back in there, I'm good.
No, it's great.
Thank you.
So if there's no questions on cash flow, obviously if you have questions later, just holler at me and I'll certainly try to answer those questions for you. Just kind of wanted to briefly talk about kind of a workforce update. I was shocked by this. We got our workforce update numbers. Obviously, we struggle with unemployment, but I will tell you, in the last year, our civilian labor force has grown over 2,000 people from 23 to 24. And then also the employed number is almost up 2,000. So there's 2,000 more people employed as of March 31st of this year versus March 31st of last year. That's an incredible sign for us as we go out and recruit, that many more people have joined the workforce. And so very proud of that number. I was actually surprised. I didn't know that it would grow that much. So very, very excited about the prospect of that number. And then this next slide it's incredible when you look at that. And this is a project impact of some of our larger projects that we've done, like Bell Helicopter, Amazon, GRI, which is the tower manufacturer out in Centerport. Panhandle Piers is an example of some of the larger projects that we've done. And this is from 2000 on, just the impact of those projects. $147 million. That's what AEDC has invested. Obviously, $120 million of that is into Bell. But the company has invested $408 million. That doesn't take into some of our larger ones that we've announced, but they haven't started yet. The payroll impact is about $140 million per year of those companies. The taxes that they paid is around $11.8 million this year. The taxes they've paid since 2000, $69 million. The city's portion of that, about $1.6 million this year. From those projects, and over the lifetime, or since 2000, those projects have paid in about $9 million in taxes to the city alone. So huge impact on these projects. Certainly would try to answer any questions on that. I have to thank Michael Kitten on doing the worksheet on that. Also, the folks at Prad. Michael has Prad on speed dial trying to get this worksheet worked out. It's certainly a lot more complicated than me putting it on a Word document. And so I certainly appreciate Michael's work on this, and obviously our partners at Potter Randall Appraisal District. Certainly try to answer any questions on that or the workforce number.
Anything?
Just a few project updates. Producers Own Beef, that's our $840 million announced project. Obviously, that's located I-40 and US 287. They have broke ground and doing dirt work and cement work. It's incredible how much dirt's been moved out there. If you get a chance to go by there, we went by there at lunch, and I mean they are working diligently. We anticipate that about 30 more months on that construction project. Albers Aerospace, very excited. They've acquired 2 more companies that they want to move to Amarillo. They're currently operating at Tradewinds Airport. We met with their architect and design company on the hangar that we previously talked about that we're going to construct for them. And then they also are working on a lease to lease space out at the airport permanently for a long-term lease on one of their manufacturing spaces. So I know Mike Connor's in the back from the airport, and I appreciate his work working together on helping Albers get that space secured. Austin Hose, their expansion is nearly complete. That project is on the north side of our South Georgia Business Park. And so about a $15 million expansion, and they're already wanting to expand again. So they already don't have enough space, so they want to build more space. And so we're really excited about that. Plant Agriculture Systems, that's the hydroponic project that we brought to y'all, I think, back in the fall. That's a $500 million capital investment. They closed on the land, and so their clock is ticking on when they have to break ground. That's going to be in our Centerport East Park, so just directly east of the 2 TDCJ facilities. Obviously, that was a huge project with us. We got to collaborate with Lubbock on that because neither one of us had enough acreage for one big project, and so we collaborated on that. And so both cities are going to have facilities. We were recognized at the Governor's Mansion for that, for Site Selection Magazine. And so that's always exciting when you get recognition on work that you've done. Business facilities, recognized us for their Deal of the Year in Agriculture, and then Trade and Industry magazine rated that one of the top 16 deals in the United States this year. And then the new Amazon facility, we were out there today. It's unbelievable. They're already working on parking lot for that. We anticipate that'll be opened, that last mile facility will be opened in the fall. And we anticipate that's going to be around 30 employees. No incentive given on that one, so those are always fun when you don't have those. So just some recognition. Was back at the Governor's Mansion for the Governor's Cup recognition. We've been invited to that 4 years in a row. This was the 12th year in a row that Texas has won the Governor's Cup, and it wasn't even close. I think that we had like 7,000 projects announced in Texas. I think the next biggest, the best state was maybe 1,400 or 1,500 projects. Maybe North Carolina was the second state. So always exciting. When you get to sell Texas and then you get to sell Amarillo, it's a great day. And then we were recognized by the Texas Economic Development Council for economic excellence. 75 of the 840 economic development organizations were recognized for this. And what that has to do with your financials being audited, staff as far as the credentials that they have and the training, and then also the board training that you receive as a board member. With that, I know I've got a couple of board members here. Our newest board members here, Deepak Patel. He's been a great addition. He came on in January, so Deepak, thank you. And then Scott Bentley's in the back. He's our senior member of the board. This is his 6th year and was a 2-time chair, and so very thankful for them. And then, of course, we couldn't do this without the staff that we have. We have an amazing staff. There's 9 of us, including me, and so we've got a couple members here, Michael Kitten and Paul Simpson here, and so very, very proud of the staff that we have. And so that's all I have, but certainly would answer any questions that you may have.
Appreciate the presentation, sir. Any other questions for Mr. Carter?
Oh, great job.
Thank you.
Thank you. Look forward to the work session together.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Moving along, we're going to move to item 8E. I know I'm pushing you a little bit. We're going to do some quick updates from council members serving on outside boards, and then we'll take a recess. If we can go ahead and start with Councilman Kraft. You have Beautification, Public Arts, and Parks and Rec, I believe.
Yep. Parks and Rec and Beautification. So today I'm going to have Mr. Kashuba give the presentation on this. Him and his staff built this PowerPoint presentation, and I'm excited to see it. So.
Okay.
All right, Mayor and Council, Michael Kashuba, Director of Parks and Rec. Just giving you a quick update on the 2 boards, and we're going to start with Park Board, and then we'll do Beautification. So with all of our Park Board meetings, we always provide updates on what Council has recently approved. That included the standards of care, the master plan for the East Ridge property, the landscape maintenance contract, which will reduce costs for the department $100,000 annually, and also the additional funding for the Independence Day +1. Some of the things that staff is working on, after the last council meeting, we're looking at policies and procedures for those park sponsorships and waivers. We updated the park board on some of the staffing challenges we've had at the zoo. We've been working to get those refilled. We also added a couple of longhorn steers out there. We've also been working on a new work order software that's primarily for park maintenance, so we can put in work orders. It allows us to track that better, see response time, see where we're struggling in terms of different types of projects. One of the other things we've been implementing is customer surveys throughout the department. We actually are using a metric called Net Promoter Score. Basically, it's promoters minus detractors divided by the total amount. So those scores have come in very high so far, and we're going to continue to monitor those. And the main goal is to see what citizens are saying, and then if there are issues that we can respond a lot quicker. We're in the process of hiring for the summer, so we actually have a hiring event tonight at the Warford Activity Center. We've had a lot of people apply for cashier positions. The one that we always struggle with is lifeguards. So if you know any 15-year-olds plus that are looking for a summer job, send them our way. Again, Warford Activity Center tonight, I believe, starts at 6. And then planning to open Southwest Pool. Go ahead.
Is that what we decided to move forward with Southwest Pool?
Well, we've kind of had it on hold, and we'd submitted some information, and then the guidance we received from city manager was just keep moving forward. But we'd be happy to revisit that. MediPark, that was we had a section of concrete actually that had eroded and collapsed. And so we were able to get out there fairly quickly and replace those panels that had collapsed. And you can see on the right side there, that's the new lighting at the North Lake. So I'll share some other pictures. Currently, the contractor's working on the South Lake, so they're boring, putting in bases, and working on the poles. Thompson Pool demo is almost done, so that pool structure is primarily removed. They are starting to backfill. I believe when they were digging that pool or removing that pool, they actually found 3 pool shells. So I think that's part of the reason it lasted 87 years. Construction is about to start on the 9th Street Trail, so we've officially gotten the paperwork, and we're going to issue a notice to proceed. So that's at the intersection of Wallace and 9th, just north of MediPark, where all those mountain bike trails are. That is primarily funded out of Texas Parks and Wildlife Grant, and council approved that a few months back. These are some pictures of the lights. Again, we've almost completed, and a big thank you to Todd Stavenhagen with Facilities. He's really run point on these. Sam Houston Park, the lighting is done. San Jacinto Park, the lighting is done. As I mentioned, MediPark North is done, and we're now working on the south portion of that. You can see it's a huge difference in terms of lighting. We know that from a public safety standpoint, lighting and improving the lighting in parks is a huge thing for public safety. Working on camera installation, we've had 2 installed. We've had 2 license plate readers installed. There's 4 more that are scheduled to be installed as soon as those are back in stock with that company. So, and you can see some of the donuts and other things that are in those pictures. Concrete repairs, this is another project that council approved. This allows us to use a contractor to go and start addressing some of those concrete issues that we see throughout the park. The areas that we started on were obviously Sam Houston and MediPark. Those are the parks that we see a significant number of either walkers or participants. And so we prioritize those as kind of a higher level of priorities. They are finishing up Sam Houston as we speak, and so tomorrow they should be moving off of that site. And then they'll be shifting, I believe, to the North Lake of MediPark to start basically following our lighting contractor out of that park. This is a new program that we started. It's called the Yellow City Green Thumbs, and it was hosted by our beautification department. And so the first one was a composting class. The second one was community gardens, and the third one, which is coming up May 2nd, is on rainwater harvesting. Very well attended, very good response from the community on that. We are bringing back our park guide. We haven't had a printed park guide in quite a few years, and so we're bringing that back, and we're also going to have that available online. That'll allow people to go on and see all the different programs that the department is offering over the course of the summer and going into the fall. Park maintenance is in the process of getting splash pads ready. Elwood Park, that park has struggled with irrigation. It was actually part of the old hydraulic irrigation system. That has all been removed, and modern irrigation system has been put in on, I guess it'd be the west side of the park. And so we're working to get that irrigation and landscape restored. So that's on the park board side. And then on the beautification side, wanted to share, this is the first mural that has been approved or completed for the year. This is at 3314 Olson. It's the first one, as I said, to be done. This facility actually received some significant damage due to the flooding last year. The board approved 6 to be done, so this is the first of 6. And then in terms of cleanup effort, starting in 2024, we've really started to focus more on community cleanups. We've had 45 volunteers clean up MediPark, Southeast, and Martin Road, where we've collected over 32 bags of trash. We're actually getting ready to host another big cleanup event this weekend with anticipation of about 60 volunteers. So again, we continue to try to do more of those cleanup efforts. We again also have that Earth Day event this Friday at 2 o'clock where we plant some trees. So that's just a quick update on parks and beautification. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions, council?
Did we wind up losing any trees in Elwood, or Because I know we'd had an issue about that for a while.
There was a lot of dead trees that were removed. And so that's one of the efforts is as we start to remove some of those trees, going in and planting some new trees. But a lot of those trees had been dead and were really a hazard.
Right.
Yeah.
Got it. Thank you.
Mr. Kashuba, thank you. Appreciate the work you're doing out there. Moving on, item 3, MPO, Metropolitan Planning Organization, is Councilman Sherlin.
Travis, do you want to come up? Are you here?
Do we have Mr. Munoz here?
I don't see him.
I don't see him.
Well, I got a cheat sheet. Just
Looks like you're up.
In our meeting, which was held April 18th, the policy committee approved the process to oversee the letting of projects funded from surface transportation block grants funds and transportation alternative funds. The committee approved the priority list for the projects submitted for the funds just mentioned. The committee approved the revision to the year 2024 Unified Planning Work Program. This revision will add an additional planner position to the MPO staff. They also adopted a short-range planning document, the Transportation Improvement Program for years 25 through 28. The committee received an update on the development of the next long-range plan, which is from 2025 to 2050, Metropolitan Transportation Plan. The Unified Planning Work Program for year 2025. Last, they received an update on projects currently under construction. Anybody have any questions?
Nope, I think we're good. Appreciate you giving that one. I'm going to jump on LGC real quick, and then we're going to take a recess. So, Local Government Corporation, we did go ahead and nominate a new chair. We had Michael Hanning step off on that. Alfonso Zambrano was nominated, and then I believe Megan Zankatine was the vice president of that one. And so we've got everybody in the position that we need over there. We went ahead and got a few updates. We did the Sod Poodles update. They're underway. If you hadn't caught a game over there, please do. Got some pretty weather coming. And then I think basically the big issue was the LGC's retail building that's over there, built inside of the parking garage. Lano is the developer that is purchasing that. They've secured all the funding that they needed. They committed to closing on that in June. They had a little bit of an option period that I believe, I know Mr. Freeman could correct me if I'm wrong, but I want to say May 16th or something like that. May 11th is what Mr. Skank is reminding me of. So here shortly, that option period will expire, and we're ready to close that. So that is roughly 25,000 square feet of space there. It's already been, I guess, it's been changed into a condominium regime. That's a bad term because it doesn't mean condos like you think residential. It just means you have commercial property that's now able to be parceled up so that we can sell those individually. The goal is to continue to sell those. Lano will continue to sell and lease those downtown. We need people that want to be downtown and want to own a piece of Amarillo right there or put businesses in. The purpose of that investment back in 2015 was to create activity and to bring additional businesses down here that produce sales taxes and pay property taxes. And so we've sold that. We think we'll close that shortly, and I think that was the positive out of that meeting. We're ready to see that guy go ahead and continue on. And then LGC is set up and ready to make sure that we're moving forward with everything else that we need to for the parking garage. There was a few other parking arrangements and commitments that were discussed, but overall, we had a pretty productive meeting. Any questions on LGC, gentlemen? Okay. At this time, it is almost 5. Let's take a 10-minute recess. We'll come back in here, and we'll do consent, non-consent. Thank you. Here, and I know we had a couple of public comments that were talking about a few items on consent. I'd ask if any council member wanted to pull anything off of the consent agenda for further discussion.
Mayor, I would like to pull M, N, and O and that project off for just a discussion and conversation.
I would ask staff if we think we're fine to pull all three of those, discuss all three of those simultaneously since they relate, and then we could go ahead and vote on everything except those, and then, or actually, you know what, let's just do a discussion and let's see if that's good enough, and then we vote it through prior to that. So maybe we don't pull M, N, and O and vote individually. Mr. Freeman, would you mind walking us through that? I think you're the most qualified to educate us on it.
Happy to do that. So this is tiers number 3, so we actually have 3 tax increment reinvestment zones. Really the purpose, it's allowed by state law as an economic development tool to encourage reinvestment or new investment in a particular geographic area. So typically you hear about them in downtowns, which we have one here. It's those where you've seen depressed property values, declining property values, and you take an opportunity to create a zone, grow those values, and reinvest in the area. So the way it works is you establish a baseline year. In the case of tiers number 3, that's 2022. That locks it in at that property tax value. Anything in that base year continues to pay taxes to the participating entities. So we've got the City of Amarillo participating, Amarillo College, and Randall County. So it's not just the city taxes involved as far as property tax goes. It's 3 different entities. So that's another benefit of having a zone is multiple partners can pitch in for the good of that area. So you've got your base year, 2022, locked in. Keep making revenue for the taxing entities. Moving forward throughout the years of the zone, any new investment or any growth in those existing values gets captured for the zone. So in the next year, if there's a new $10 million in value, the taxes are collected. Each entity, the 3 entities, pull those together. It gets put into a fund that can only be spent on that zone within that boundary. So anything in the downtown zone can only go to downtown projects. East Gateway can only go to East Gateway projects, and South Gateway can only go to South Gateway projects. So that's a little background on the tiers. This zone in particular, it's a 20-year zone to collect that new increment, new base to help pay for the projects within that zone. It's a little different than our previous zones as well, that we are not dedicating 100% of our taxes for 20 years. For that first 10 years, it'll be 100%. And the last 10 years, it'll be half of that. So starting in year 11, if nothing changes in the way the zone's set up, each entity will start to collect half of that tax base. So we'll see it kind of like we've been talking about with the tax abatements, with the step-down approach. Instead of waiting 30 years, 20 years to start seeing any activity and new revenue, this will take 11 years. So that's a real benefit to the taxing entities to encourage that growth quickly and see in year 11 some of those benefits. The way tiers number 3 was set up and why these projects are on the agenda, it was really set up to invest in the infrastructure. The way it works is the city tiers, all the taxes involved do not get paid except on a reimbursement basis. So each of the agreements you see here are going to be investing their dollars, whether it's AEDC dollars or Rockrose investing in the roads and the utilities. They will front all those dollars. So we've got about $15 million planned in investment that will take place over the next few years, and then they will not be paid back until we start seeing new tax base growth. So they are investing on the front end, and then it might take the entire 20 years before they get their full payback. We're hopeful that that is a very conservative estimate of $15 million in revenue. We hope it's 20 plus million. The sooner we can get that infrastructure in the ground, the sooner it attracts new development, new sales tax, new property tax to start paying those incremental dollars. And then each year we'll evaluate the revenue coming in, evaluate the projects completed, and issue the rebate checks based on that. So I'm happy to answer questions about tiers in general. One question we had was about sundown not being in the city limits. That is correct. A tax increment reinvestment zone can be outlined in the ETJ as well, which this is, and we are currently working with the property owners to annex that as we go through this process. So they will be annexed and participating in that that sense as well. So, any questions?
Go ahead.
When I called you, I think it was yesterday, Andrew, you said something about a 10-year into this deal.
Yes, so that's the 10-year that we're paying the 100% of our new revenue as a city will go into the zone. Starting year 11, half of it comes back. So we'll start to see some benefits much earlier on than other tier zones. Okay. So year 11, half of it will start coming back into the general fund, be able to be used on police, fire, streets, any of those needs.
Other questions?
And so just to be clear on the tier zone and what can qualify and not qualify to be covered for this. So
right.
It has to be something that's for the public use.
Not necessarily. So as far as the infrastructure goes, we have two on the agenda that are public infrastructure, and then we have a general developers agreement that's supporting a project, and that's the Kids Inc. parking lot. So they're investing in a project that's going to spur development in the zone, while the others are the public infrastructure. So if you're supporting a project that's going to help bring new revenue to the zone, that qualifies as well as a project.
But the parking lot would be a public benefit, I guess, just like the parking garage would be a...
Right. Yeah, it serves a good purpose for the zone as far as parking and attendance in the zone.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And I guess what happens, so I guess with what's going on with Kids Inc., they're making headway to get that project done.
They are.
But they can have the project, but if they don't have the streets and the infrastructure to do it, it's just going to take that much longer to
Correct.
accomplish.
Yes, so it is important having all these three together that they'll actually feed and kind of start building at the same time. I think Kids Inc. will move a little bit sooner, and they'll probably only have maybe 1 or 2 access points until the roads are completed, but we're hoping with these approvals that we'll see that investment move as quick as possible.
Okay. And then just to make sure, so it's like each of these has a certain reimbursement up to, so.
Yes.
So ideal scenario, we don't have to reimburse. Tell me, I'm just trying to make sure I understand what this reimbursement means again.
So the reimbursement means they're going to put the investment in the ground. So, for example, AEDC's is a little over $7 million. They will put forward the investment. We will track that. They'll turn in receipts, documentation that's been completed. We'll have that on hand. And then each year as new revenue comes in, we will only pay what revenue comes in. So if we get $200,000 in year 1 and they've completed a project, we'll cut them a check of the 90%. So we're going to hold back 10% till the very end of the zone, pay 90%. So they'd get a percentage that year, and then next year we'll reevaluate. Each year as we continue to grow property values, we'll have multiple projects. So how we ended up structuring it, knowing that we'd have three different projects taking place at the same time, we're going to evaluate on a yearly basis. Say we had $2 million in one project, $2 million in another, we're going to split that 50-50. So if we have $200,000, one will get $100,000 paid back, the other gets $100,000 paid back. So instead of them having to get in line, they'll share the revenue each year based on a pro rata split of their investment.
So when you talk, we're using money that the AEDC has to pay for the projects.
Yes.
And then the tiers, the increment that's generated is what's going to pay tiers.
Correct.
AEDC back the money.
Yes.
So theoretically, AEDC is not out the money because they're
Right.
going to get it back over a period of time.
Right. They're just investing it.
But they're also going to get the benefit of additional sales tax and other things that are
Right.
going to be generated. through
Yes.
that project.
They'll continue to collect their half-cent sales tax for any qualifying entity that ends up developing that area. So they'll get paid back basically both ways because they are losing money they could have in an investment account. They're going to probably make up more than enough on the sales tax side. But the benefit here is the city's not the one just footing the whole bill to reimbursement. It is a partnership with Amarillo College and Randall County, so that much quicker as far as getting that rebate back to those companies.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Question?
I appreciate the info.
Yeah. So, Andrew, one of the benefits of approving this is that it allows Kids Inc. to move forward a little bit quicker, right? And provides them the infrastructure, provides those things, which Kids Inc. is a huge
Absolutely, huge
our
catalyst.
community, and huge tax, but a huge benefit to our community. Yes. So it's an investment in our community.
It is getting that partnership with Rock Rose being willing to put that $3 million of that parking lot is going to help close the gap for them to go ahead and pull the trigger to start moving dirt and getting started on their project.
Okay. Yes. Thank you.
Any other questions from council?
No, No, sir.
I think sometimes we get into like a tier zone and something where you get far enough down the road you forget maybe what was placed in front of you originally. So the original ask was, hey, if we put in a $50 million top of the line sports complex, we could stop traveling all over the state and everywhere else, and we would attract people here. People would be coming here. Our kids can stay home. We need this. Parks and Rec is now making really good headway, but, we still can't take care of all of the youth sports. And so I think it's easy to forget when you're looking at this, like, well, why would we create this and let these people that are coming here, not contribute to the general fund that we need for police and fire, and other needs that we have all over the city? Well, they weren't coming here. They were asking for us to pay for it. So, I think it was pay for this road, pay for this infrastructure, get underneath Hollywood, figure out a way, city, to get a $50 million complex here, and you'll see the benefit. And we've looked, what's the city, Elk City, Oklahoma?
Yes.
Looking at that, 5-year payout, maybe something ridiculous. And so from the investment side, I think as a councilman and as a mayor, I look at it and I say, I'd love to. I don't have the money. So it becomes a developer issue of, hey, you may have the money. Will you put the money in and then gift the property over to the city? No, I can't do that as the developer. Now, is there an arrangement where, developer can put the seed money in and then the city can contribute in a few other ways, and we see this realize, and then we all benefit for it. I think that's what I want to go back to and just kind of summarizing. This is how we get here. We don't get here by saying, hey, you know what, we need another tier zone. Let's just do tiers 3, and let's just hope that over 1,000 acres of somebody's land, that lots of stuff just lands there. And if we make it super easy on them to get some of their money back on the front end, then hopefully it'll grow. It's not quite like that. And so I think you've got a really good, solid business plan. It gets in the rearview mirror over a year and a half, 2-3 years of fundraising that goes by pretty quick. How long have we been working on this? It's not quite 3 years.
Tiers 3 or Kids Inc.?
Kids Inc. is how old? 3?
It's been a few years. Yeah.
2.5, 3
Probably
years?
longer than that coming up with the plan, but as far as fundraising, last
Right.
couple of years.
And then everything else that comes along with that, So I know Top Golf hasn't committed to come here yet. They don't even know they're coming here yet, but Top
This is the
Golf is
perfect
coming
spot for
here for that. So if we say their name, Top Golf, a few more times, I think maybe they would come here.
Yeah.
So I just want to recap on that, and then let me ask a question. Is there an ability to get an abatement inside of this tier zone?
So the other tier zones like we have in tiers 2 and tiers 1 do have those rebates. They're not abatements because they do pay the taxes and we cut them a check a few months later. This zone, we really won't encourage that because if we have one of those in place, it's just going to take away what we can refund the infrastructure. So by putting these in place, we're basically saying a message that this is the incentive. Paying for that infrastructure is a big part of why we haven't seen the development in that area. So hopefully that is enough to get them to develop.
And I know you never want to totally tie your hands where you just can't move forward with the deal, but it's going to be scrutinized, and I want our taxpayer to hear we have a good business plan. It's solid, and it's not a give away the farm. Right. We're going to put all this in, and then abatement after abatement, and 20 years from now, maybe somebody will start paying taxes. This is strategic. So yes. I think it's important that we keep all that in front of us as we move forward. Do I have other questions for Mr. Freeman?
I do. Do you remember the breakdown on sales tax money that we get, the percentage that comes locally and the percentage that comes from out of town? Is it 60-40 or?
It's a little over 60 that we think comes from out of town. That's
so
what
the majority
CBB
of our
usually
sales
says.
tax money
Visitors
is coming from people that come from other areas. So when you look at what AEDC is trying to do, this investment, and the other thing is this infrastructure ultimately is being paid by the people who are benefiting directly from the infrastructure. In other words, the other taxpayers are not paying for this infrastructure because it's coming back as their property tax grows in increment. And then our sales tax, which is one of our top revenue sources, now bringing more people in, where we're getting 60% of that, that money is coming in, just allows us to continue to do that and grow. So, I really like how we've used these different tools and structures to be able to help us not only do something good for the community, but hopefully provide an economic engine out there that will continue to help fund different parts of our government in addition to recruitment and infrastructure. So appreciate that.
Any other questions? Thank you, Deputy.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it. If I could, I'm going to go back real quick before we ask for a motion. I skipped over item 8F, which is request future agenda items. Do I have any other agenda items from council? No? Okay. So back to the consent agenda. I asked if you wanted to pull anything off for further discussion. We did not take a motion for voting on them separately. Is council comfortable with leaving all those in and voting the consent agenda through as presented? Yes. Would ask for a motion.
I move to adopt the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the consent agenda? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. We will move forward to our non-consent agenda. Appreciate everyone that was here for those items. Item 9A. Nope. Apologize. I know. Let's get there. Man, who writes these agendas? They're so long. Okay, item 10A. Mr. Carter, you're back up, if you don't mind coming forward for a second reading.
Mayor, Council, this is the second reading of the reinvestment zone number 24. A reinvestment zone is created as a step for the taxing entity to be able to offer a tax abatement at a later date, which is today. We're going to talk about that. This is the second reading of this. It's just a step. You can see the reinvestment zone number 24 that we're talking about. This is in our South Georgia Business Park. This is going to house a manufacturing and distribution facility. You can see that's delineated by 12 and 8 acres, but it's 20 acres total. We're going to talk about that delineation in just a few minutes in another item, but it's 20 acres is what the zone is. There's a little bit of kind of that whole South Georgia. There's the legal description of that 20 acres. What this does is it allows you to consider a tax abatement with that 20 acres and that delineated into 12 and 8. Let's just say that we're going to talk about Sage Oil Vac and their abatement here in just a minute. Let's just say they took 12 acres and did not get the other 8 acres. But we vote in the whole 20 acres. So if Sage only took the 12 acres and then at a later date somebody else took that 8 acres, y'all voted in on the tax abatement. Whatever you vote in today on that tax abatement, you're voting it in on the zone. So if another company came in that 8 acres, they're going to get exactly what you offer to Sage. We hope that Sage takes that whole 20 acres. They expand like they're supposed to. But I know that there was a question last time, and I apologize for not being here at the first reading. So I would certainly answer any questions about a reinvestment zone, but it's just a tool to offer an abatement. All you're doing is setting up that reinvestment zone. You have to do that every 5 years. And so on each zone, even though you can offer abatement for 10 years, I never have understood, you have to re-up that zone every 5 years. So,
questions for Mr. Carter, gentlemen?
They wouldn't get anything more than Sage would be getting, right?
That's correct.
Somebody else, they would get exactly.
Yeah, you don't even have the ability to change that.
Okay, so I think we had a pretty good deal set up with Sage. I just didn't want anybody coming in and being able to get a better deal.
Yeah, and just to go ahead and kind of jump into the other item, just to answer some questions. The reason why that we're going to ask for an abatement, I know that council has given us direction that if we convey land, we don't want to do an abatement as well. And so Sage opted to take the land conveyance. But what we found out when we went to do the legal work is that the city has to set up the reinvestment zone. So the city has to offer some type of abatement for the other taxing entities. And I know that Randall County and Amarillo College are interested in giving tax abatement to Sage Oilvac. The city has to set up the reinvestment zone and has to offer some type of participation agreement. So that's why we're going to ask for a 1-year 10% tax abatement in the next item, or in our next item. So just a little bit of clarification as to why we're asking for this.
Appreciate that. Any other questions for Mr. Carter?
No, sir.
Okay. Kevin, thank you for that.
Thank you, Mayor.
Item 10A, if I don't have any other questions, I would ask for a motion.
I move to adopt Ordinance 8130 as presented in the agenda.
Second.
I have a motion and a second on item 10A. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Item passes with a 4-1 vote. Okay, moving along to item 10B. This is a public hearing. We have Brady Kendrick heading up here to walk us into this one.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is a public hearing and first reading to consider the rezoning of Lot 3, Block 1, the Colonies Unit Number 54. The change from Plan Development District 238 to Plan Development District 238E to construct a 71-unit, 3-story apartment complex in the vicinity of Coulter Street and Tuscany Parkway. And the applicant is Geospatial Data, Inc. for Tuscany Parkway Apartments, LLC. The Planning and Zoning Commission found that this request would conform with the future land use map and neighborhood unit concept of development. The original planned development for this area, 238, was originally for the Lowe's site to the north and also did include this area along Tuscany Parkway that the applicant's property is a part of. And that PD stated that all sites prior to development in Phase 2 had to go through this process to ensure compatibility with surrounding development, as at that time that this was all originally established, the Colonies neighborhood was just under development. So there were concerns back then about compatibility with homes as they developed in that area. PD 238 generally follows the GR zoning district standards for allowed uses and development standards. One exception to note is that the PD did allow architectural features of Lowe's to be up to 46 feet high. The Planning and Zoning Commission noted also that the applicant's tract is not immediately adjacent to any single-family homes in the area, nor does it share a direct line of sight into single-family development. Given that, plus the increased setbacks observed along the property lines, with the closest being 86 feet, the Commission felt that the 3-story height with the peak roof height of 48 feet was appropriate. The PD will also enforce all typical development standards such as landscaping, unit density, and parking. And there's also a special provision for signs that they will not be allowed on the west or south faces of the building, since that's the direction that there are single-family homes located. We did send public notices, and no comments have been received as of this meeting. And the Planning and Zoning Commission did recommend approval with a unanimous 7-0 vote.
Mr. Kendrick, we appreciate that presentation. Any questions for Brady before he steps down?
No, sir.
Okay. This is a public hearing, so at this time I'll open a public hearing, ask if I have anybody here that would like to speak for or against this item. Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing, and I'd ask for a motion.
I move to adopt ordinance number 8131.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on item 10B? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes with a 5-0 vote. Moving along to item 10C, that is Mr. Carter back up on the previously mentioned project.
Let me get it sized real quick.
Okay, sorry.
There you go. I think that. Okay, you're good.
Yeah, I sent this in PDF. Sorry, Stephanie. Mayor, Council, this is an item to consider a location incentive agreement between Amarillo Economic Development Corporation and Sage Oilvac. Before I get started, I do want to introduce the owners of Sage Oilvac. Mr. Gary Sage and Aaron Sage are in the back here, so I appreciate you guys coming today. And and wanting to reinvest in your community. You've been a long time members of our community and business community, and so this is a pretty exciting project. I'm going to go over kind of the economic impact on this, and then I know we've got 2 items with Sage. Their company profile, they started in the mid-1990s, and then Mr. Sage wanted to expand, was one of the original winners of the Enterprise Challenge, and it has just taken off from there. They do mobile oil reclamation, have done it out in the field in farming operations, and then took that to the wind, and now wants to expand that business into where they do mobile oil changes with trucks. They're building full-service truck beds, lube truck beds. The opportunity today, they're wanting to expand their business. They're currently located on Lakeside, wanting to expand that business to our South Georgia Business Park. Would be for them to get conveyed 12 acres of land in the first phase and 8 acres of land in the second phase on a $10 million estimated improvements. And then they would create 60 additional new jobs in that projection. And how that land would work, I know I talked about phase 1 and phase 2. Phase 1, we would convey that land, and then once they've expended $8 million and created 30 additional jobs, then they would have the second phase, or the 8 acres would be conveyed to them after they've created those 30 jobs and expended at least $8 million, not including equipment. So it has to be in the building. Oh, it's not moving. I'm probably not going to click because it's a PDF. So. We believe that the project is going to, they're going to expend over $12 million in this project. And so in the next item, we're going to be requesting tax abatement. Some of the economic activity or output is going to be, if you'll go to the next slide, Stephanie. Oh gosh, I can't read that. So I should have made a note of that. So over the next 20 years, the economic activity of their total operation is going to be about $122 million. So about a $12 million economic output every year. That's including what they're doing and then the expansion as well. So a huge economic impact that they have. Our board voted on this yesterday with a 4-0 vote. Scott Bentley abstained from that because he has a banking relationship with that. And so the total value of the incentive that AEDC is offering is $600,000 for job creation, and then the 20 acres that on paper is valued at $1.1 million. We don't have that much invested in it from AEDC's standpoint. I also want to point out, before you vote on this, how we make sure that a company performs. I was supposed to tell you all that in my report, that it's reporting period for us. Every company has to report by February 28th. So one of the citizens asked me that during the break, and then Michael Kitten got on to me because I was supposed to talk about that. So I just want to make sure that you know that when we do an incentive agreement, a company has to do a performance review every year. They submit their 4 quarterly reports that they have, their Texas Workforce Commission quarterly reports. They have to present those to us. Doug Nelson, who is our Senior Vice President for our financial side, reviews that, and then Michael Kitten, our Vice President of Development, reviews that separately. Then they get together to make sure that the review is the same. If they're not, then they re-audit that. Just want to make sure that that the taxpayer knows that we are protecting their interest, because most of these deals we pay at the end. So as Sage performs, they present a report, and then we issue a check as they've created those jobs. So what we're asking for y'all is to approve the job location incentive. I will say there are 3 changes from the agreement that you got that's in the packet. They're actually not changes. They're blanks that got filled in. One of those is the effective date. That would be the 23rd of April if you so approve this today. And then the FTE floor, that's on the second page of the document. They currently have 73 FTEs, so that would go in the document. And then their current payroll is $3,396,496 in payroll. So that would fill in those three blanks that are not in the agreement. I'd certainly answer any questions.
Yeah, questions for Mr. Carter?
No, sir.
No. So you have a projection of 60 new FTEs?
That's correct, yes, sir, at an
double.
average salary of a little over $50,000.
Almost doubling the current.
That's correct, yes, sir.
Over the next 10 years?
I think we're projecting that over the next 3 years, or next 5 years.
5 years.
Yeah. I like it. Okay, item 10C has been presented. No questions for Mr. Carter, gentlemen?
No, sir.
Do I have anyone with a motion?
I move to adopt item 10C as presented in the agenda.
Second.
Have a motion and a second on item 10C. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes with a 5-0 vote.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you. On to item 10D, sir.
Okay, this is to consider approval of a tax abatement agreement between the City of Amarillo and Amarillo Economic Development Corporation and Sage Oil Vac, Inc. Obviously, we've talked about what Sage is going to do. They're going to put at least $10 million in estimated improvements in equipment, increase their payroll from 73 up to, we hope, at 133, 60 new employees. AEDC is offered an incentive of $10,000 for each job over 5 years, and then an incentive of 20 acres to be conveyed once they meet certain requirements. The AEDC is asking the council to approve a 1-year 10% tax abatement. This would allow Sage Oil Vac to participate with other taxing entities in tax abatement agreements with those other taxing entities. The city has to take the lead on this because it is in the city limits. So AEDC is asking on Sage's behalf to the 1-year 10% abatement agreement. Based on current figures, we believe with a $10 million value, the city tax would be about $400,000 over a 10-year period. So that 10% would be a savings to Sage of somewhere in the neighborhood of $4,000 is what we anticipate the savings that Sage would realize from this 1-year 10%. So $396,000 would be taxes paid by Sage to the city over the next 10 years.
Mr. Carter, we appreciate the math problem on that one. I think it puts it in perspective. Do I have further questions on this for Mr. Carter? Okay, I would ask for a motion on item 10D.
I'll make a motion that we accept item 10D as stated on the agenda package.
Second.
I have a motion and a second from the other right side. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
No.
Item passes with a 4-1 vote. Councilmember Kraft, you don't have to justify your vote, but if you would like to say something, you definitely can.
I was talking to Don, but no, I mean, just where I'm at on the side of the fence anyways is with property tax abatements. Just that's the side of the fence I'm on. I encourage y'all's business, looking forward to doing business with y'all, but I'm a man of principle, and that's where I stand, so nothing personal.
I have found myself on the side of a no vote a time or two, and so sometimes you do feel compelled to maintain your vote based on principle and what you arrived at. So we respect that. Not always the easiest thing to do, but we also feel like this is a great investment. So appreciate you guys being here today. One final item, I believe. Mr. Carter, you're up on item 10E.
Mayor, Council, before I get started, this is to consider approval between a location incentive agreement between Amarillo Economic Development Corporation and Asset Protection Unit, LLC. I have Joe Witzel with me with Asset Protection. We appreciate Joe being here today. This is another business retention and expansion project. Paul Simpson's been busy, and so we appreciate what Paul's done in the BRE realm. And so Asset Protection Unit is looking to expand their business. Their company profile, they are the leading provider of data mining and overpayment recovery for insurance. So they've been here a long time in Amarillo. AEDC has done a previous expansion deal with them in 2018. They fulfilled all the requirements of that former location incentive agreement and want to expand their business again. And so what we're proposing here today is to look at a location incentive agreement for up to 30 additional new employees at an incentive of $10,000 per job, paid out over 5 years, which would be a maximum incentive of up to $300,000. That would put an additional $1.35 million into additional payroll. They currently have 72 employees currently here in Amarillo. And so AEDC staff is recommending the approval of the incentive agreement. Our board voted yesterday on a 4-0 vote. Andrew Hall had to abstain from discussion and vote because their company is the landlord. So it was a 4-0 vote. Certainly would answer any questions.
Questions on item 10E? Hearing no questions, would ask for a motion on our last item.
I'd move to approve item 10E as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second on item 10E. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye. 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 Any opposed? Item passes with a 5-0 vote. We are not going to adjourn. We recess. Thank you, Mr. Carter. Appreciate everyone being here. We recessed from executive. Mr. City Attorney, do we need you to read us back into that, or are we okay to just step back into exec?
Just need to announce the time.
Okay.
So are we ready to resume?
I believe, are you guys ready to go back in there, or do y'all
Mayor,
need anything prior
quick
to?
point of order. You'll want to adjourn this meeting because it's separate from executive.
Okay. Well, I appreciate the help on that then. So would ask for a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn this meeting.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. You're adjourned. Ha.